so I step on it when I
Oh,
get out of
good.
bed in the morning or
Oh,
something.
lovely. Yeah, that's great.
And sometimes they're really nice about it, and they throw up under the bed, so I don't notice it for months. But yeah, now it is. Now
You're
it is
deterring
right
me
here
from
in
getting
my studio
cats
me,
with
part of
every
the show.
moment.
I have. It's really just one cat, and he is 17
he's
years
like
old.
going through
So
it. Okay.
Well, then he's allowed.
yes, that's why I'm not mad.
It's
I'm not
legal.
mad at all.
Yeah, that's the privilege of
We've
age.
had-
Oh my God.
They can just do whatever they want.
Yes, we've had many wonderful years with this cat, and he's awesome and grouchy and a Maine Coon, so he's
Big
very
boy.
sweet. So.
Oh yeah, big boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Behind the Locked Doors, a productivity hack that we discovered to make us work on our projects by being accountable to each other and in the form of a podcast. I am Scott Paladin. I am writing a horny werewolf audio drama called It Takes a Wolf.
I'm Sam Stark. I am writing As in West, the spinoff to Unspeakable Distance.
I'm Jack. Hi, I'm here this time. I'm also working on S and West.
Yeah, we have the
Oh
whole
my
crew
God,
back
it's
for the first time
everybody.
in a minute.
Yay!
Because at this point, it's been like, I think there were 3 things on the feed that were only 2 of
Yeah.
us. We have to figure out how I can get you guys to record without me at this point.
No, we like having you here.
Also, my interiority was like, Sam, you and I should
Yeah.
just do an episode.
Oh yeah, feel
without-
free. I need to
feel free.
in theory, I should be able to like hand you guys some way to record through Riverside. But if you also just did independent and handed me audio files, I can also just turn that into an episode too. I could even,
But you're always here, though, Scott.
Yeah.
You're very reliable.
yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's because I got nothing else going on. I'm sad. I could even the thing is I've got the team plan on our host. So like if somebody else wanted to even edit, you could just like put shit on the feed if I just gave you an invite. Somebody remind me to send
wow.
one of y'all.
Send it to
something for that,
Sam.
so
I
we
ain't
can hook up.
editing shit.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's do our check-in. So let's start with Jack. How are you doing?
Oh my God. Well, I still haven't found my cups and mugs, but other than that, we're
No.
unpacking very slowly. Me and my wife both work like, full time or
Mhm.
more with the 3 jobs
Yeah.
that I work. So it's just like whenever you have a spare minute, you unpack a box, and that just means there's stuff that is still in boxes and probably will be for a while. But
Yeah.
I did set up this little folding table in the closet in the spare room and draped blankets everywhere. So that was my productive thing I did last weekend. I was in this closet for almost 5 hours last weekend between being in calls with both of you separately.
Yep.
But we
All
talked.
right.
Me and Sam
Sam,
talked with each other about As and
okay.
West. So that was productive.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Sam, how are you doing?
Good. Besides the cat
Yeah,
throw up.
rip.
Yeah. I'm tired. I have lots of stuff to do. I had 4 callback
Wow,
auditions.
congrats.
That was crazy. And I have another one tomorrow.
Oh,
But yeah, we got together
Mhm.
last weekend, Jack and me and Interiority actually, and we talked about just kind of basic, real overarching things.
Trying to figure out
And-
like how you're going to establish the like
Yeah,
opening, right?
yeah.
Interiority like unlocked
and,
your brain, like your fucking third eye.
Oh yeah, that happened.
it
Yeah.
was pretty great. I kind of wish
Mike's
that I'd
pretty good at
record
that.
it. So like right here, you could insert me just being like,
Yeah.
"Wah!"
Sam's
like
whole brain becoming
realizing
unstuck.
all of a sudden. Yeah. Yeah, we just basically talked about the beginning and the whole thing. I talked about it before. I don't want to come into As in West and make everybody who has already listened to Unspeakable Distance have to listen to a big, huge info dump at the
Yeah.
beginning. And I don't want new listeners to have to listen
Yeah.
to a big info dump to know what's going
Yeah.
on. And so I was like, hey, there are, basically every story out there is backstory.
Yeah.
So we could just like put it in like it's regular
Yeah.
backstory.
Yeah.
Wait, is Sam still here?
I don't know. we don't have Sam's video, so it's possible that
Yeah, listeners, in case you didn't know this, every time we record with Sam, we're looking at like a black box on the screen where the other two of us.
Well, usually it's like a picture. It's a shot of the bed where we can look at the cats at least. This time it's a black box.
Well, yeah,
box.
sometimes the camera's not on and it's just a black box, but that does make it hard to tell when Sam's audio randomly cuts out whether Sam is still present or not. Well, okay, I could try to finish explaining. So, yeah, we talked about like making the beginning less info dumpy and like having Simmons come up more, because what Interiority pointed out and was absolutely correct, even though he was doing a bit, was that like it's not about Simmons enough in the beginning. Like the whole driving force of the journey that Az and West are going on is trying to rescue Simmons, who's like stranded at the edge of the universe in this ship that's drifting. And Interiority was very funny. He was like, well, okay, so first of all, you need to change the name of this show. It needs to be like Simmons and Az and West are there, I guess. And then also it just needs to be about Simmons the entire time. Like the first 7 episodes shouldn't even have Az and West in them. It should just be about Simmons. And Sam was like squawking and hooting and hollering, losing his mind. Like, wait, you're so fucking right. Like, we don't talk about Simmons enough. So that seems to have unstuck Sam from the problems.
Yeah, that does help. And then also, like, if you want to keep things fresh while giving information, the way to do it, at least one possible way to do it, is to be commenting on the information. So it's not just that you're telling about that Simmons is off flying through space, but then if you introduce new information in the way that the characters feel about it and have them talking about it and giving additional context that way, then like it serves both purposes of like informing the audience, oh, this is what happened, but then also it gives new information of like, here's how the characters feel about it.
Well, yeah, and we discussed with Interiority also having there be new messages from Simmons periodically, not like every episode probably, but like Simmons is in like cryostasis a lot of the time at this point, trying to conserve resources and, you know, keep himself safe out there. And so like we were talking about him possibly like popping out of cryo every once and again to like, you know, check the systems and make sure there aren't any giant holes in the ship or like horrible mushroom aliens that he didn't notice last time. And he can like send messages while he's not in cryo that then take a while to reach us, but then we get to react to new Simmons content also.
Yeah. And everybody likes new Simmons
Everybody
content,
is ravenous for new Simmons content.
We are rattling the bars of our cage.
Yeah, like all of the Simmons stands out here, which contextually in Unspeakable Distance is everyone in the galaxy is so invested in how Simmons is doing.
Oh, this is not a serious suggestion, but a fun like ARG style additional context thing would be fun to have a bunch of like fake social media accounts of people like Simmons standing like talking about how much they, and like with fan theories and like shipping wars,
the gay
would be fun
art
too.
of Simmons and West, like little stick figures kissing each other. That would be so cute.
That would be funny.
With all of our spare extra time we have outside of already making the audio drama.
I know, right? Where it's like, well, I mean, like scope creep is real.
Yeah.
Though, you're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if?
And it's like, yeah, it would be cool if, but like with whom's extra time.
Yeah, well, and like energy and like
effort.
Also, like, you can't like scatter your attention that way. Oh, there we go.
We can stitch them together in post.
Oh. Do we know where we left off?
Jack and I continue to talk about what you guys covered in your conversation with Mike with Interiority.
Excellent.
Basically, that like he unlocked your third eye by talking about that he needs to be in the podcast more, and you were like, "Yes, that's true. Right. You do need to be in the podcast more."
You're so right, bestie. You're so right.
Yeah.
The greatest. Well, I mean, not the greatest. Maybe the greatest thing about Interiority is that when he starts to. He'll always start sounding like he's very serious.
Like he's very
dry.
serious.
It's an actual real thing that he's talking about, and then you'll realize kind of slowly, and then it'll click that he's totally fucking.
Yeah, no, he's doing a bit. He was doing a bit from the beginning, but he sounded so sincere about it that you were taking him seriously for like half of the bit.
Yeah,
it's so.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay. I didn't give an update. Okay.
Yeah, I want your update now.
Yep, your turn.
So when last we left, Jack was helping me fix my problems with episode 6.
I was unlocking your third eye in the middle of a different podcast.
Except that like that like I have since been thrown out everything we talked about.
Perfect.
Yeah. Because I've done another one of those run really hard, end up back where you started, or like, oh, the cats.
Cat TV. Oh my God, I'm so happy. There, listeners, we're getting perfectly framed cat TV of two cats boxing on Sam's bed in the background. Oh my God,
stopped
look
now.
at them.
Okay.
They know they're being observed.
Yeah, they're like, we do not perform. Thank you. So
Anyway.
I did one of those. In fact, the thing I wanted to talk, because I always try to bring, not always, but sometimes I try to bring a topic for us for these things. And I was thinking about this all for the last 2 weeks of like the dilemma of powering through versus backing up and reevaluating. Because when you're struggling with any kind of problem, this is not just writing, this is like fucking life, right? Where like something will break or you're trying to fix your thing or whatever, do something at your job. And like the thing that I always find myself wondering about is like, okay, do I need to just like power through and fix this issue that I have been working on? Like I settled on a course of action. I just need to like see it through the end. Or do I need to like stand back and then like say, is this the right course of action at all? Right. Because like sometimes the real thing is that like you've been, sunk cost fallacying your way down an entire pathway that wasn't the right way to go the whole time. And so you really do need to step back and be like, am I doing this right? If the solution works, will I actually be happy? Blah, 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 all that stuff. But if you do that too often, you can talk yourself out of doing anything at all. You'll spend all of your time like backing up and like, thinking, oh, am I still doing the right? Is this course of action really true? And you never really commit, and you have to commit in order to ever finish anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the problem. That was the space I have been in with the flashback, what I've been thinking of the flashback episode, the backstory episode, the one that's about the main character, the protagonist's like who he is and where he comes from and what his motivation is. And I had this course of action set in my head since the beginning, and it wasn't working. And I couldn't figure out if it wasn't working because I was just like not committed to it enough and not like doing the thing. And because sometimes you like, you just like, I'll just make it, I'll just write it. And then when you write it, you're like, oh yeah, that works. That's good. I'm glad I did that. I came to the conclusion last night that no, I had put this thing in here for bad reasons. And
with the whole backstory episode or just the structure of the backstory?
Specifically the motivation.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing that was killing me was I had because I've been pretty open that like the way I started this story was to take lucky number 11. I'm going to do a lucky number 11, and then I'm just going to start from that structure forward and then start mutating off of it. It is not that anymore, but that's the starting point. I do that, I think, fairly frequently. Just like start with a different story and then just like see where it goes from there. If I'm going to do my
grown
version.
past its origins at this point.
And in that, the structure is like the motivation is a revenge for the killing of this guy's family. And so me being the found family guy, I was like, well, I'll do killing of a found family. Fine. This is perfect. It'll be
fine.
Perfectly on brand. And it has not been working. I've been noodling away at that basic idea for a long time, and certain parts of it have never sat right. And so literally I was sitting in my car and I had to like pop into the like It Takes a Wolf Den and be like, okay, I just need to toss all this out. Like, this is wrong. I inherited this idea from the original property and it just doesn't work. This is about him. He is doing this motivation for himself. And there are some things I get to carry over with that, but basically I've been spinning my wheels for the last. Turns out what that means is that I've been spinning my wheels this whole time, and I'm like kind of back to square one. So that's where I'm at.
Well,
I saw the like massive amount of writing in the It Takes a Wolf, and I went in there and I was like, okay, here we go. I got my drink, I got my
popcorn, I got
snack, I'm ready to do it. And then I got a couple paragraphs in, and I was like, I don't have the brain. I can't.
That's fine.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's not for you guys. I mean, like, I like that there are people who can read it, but like, it's for me. Like
Right.
it's just like open brain up, pour contents into Discord channel.
Yeah.
It seems like that
I like to try and keep
that
up.
strat has been useful for you in terms of keeping track of the meandering trail of your thoughts as you work on this project.
Yeah, well, and it there really is something to be. I think I've said this elsewhere or in other streams or when we're talking about it, where like the fact that somebody else reads it means it's equivalent to like saying it gives it much more of a sounding board effect even in my brain, even when like I am just sitting there alone and y'all aren't actually even responding because you haven't read it yet. But knowing that you guys could be reading it or might be reading it in the future makes me phrase it
of being observed.
Yeah, it like makes me like commit a little bit more to it to really think it through, to explain it more, and that helps me like immensely to think it through. So it's been super useful. But yeah, it's so like so that's my I guess that's my update. It is like the I worked for 2 weeks and really I've been working for longer than that on it. And now I've just tossed it back and I'm like back to the blank page, which is both daunting and also strangely cathartic because like there's freedom in the blank page that I think I don't know why. Like, okay, so would you prefer to talk about that dilemma of moving forward or committing or reevaluating, or were you guys more interested in like talking about the blank page?
I want to talk about your first thing. However, I have a quick question, which is, are you still intending to attempt that structure of having those like journal entries or letters or diaries or whatever from 21 at the beginning of the other episodes before the flashback episode? Okay.
I'm not committed to anything at this point. Okay. I like literally am back to like reevaluating. Like I know that there will be a point where we have to learn this character's story, but I'm at the basic building blocks of like, okay, what's the plot that I'm trying to explain at least, and then I'll get to how do I best explain it.
Then it'll be like, what's the best way to convey that information to the audience? Yeah,
that's the next step because like I got to know what actually is in there first, and like it's a question of like I just read Starship Troopers twice for
back to
our
back.
other podcast, back to back, and so it's like because I really could there's a really good argument for basically doing a first half of Starship Troopers, just do that, like
just do that. That worked great. Just do that.
Basically, yeah, like just kind of wholesale borrow a lot of that stuff and then skin it with werewolves instead of mobile infantry. But I don't know if I need to make sure that actually is the correct. I feel like I've got a good idea now, which is that like the motivation's not he's not mad. I mean, he is mad about his dead friends, but like not in the sense of like they were deliberately killed. It's just like he's just mad that like he was made into a werewolf, made into a soldier, and sent off to die. Like that's a good enough motivation. And he's, I think I can work with that. So I got to figure out from there where I'm going.
Okay. Anyway, let's talk about powering through versus backing up and reevaluating.
So yeah, like this is the place I find myself in. So I would love to hear y'all's thoughts about like, do you vibe with that idea of like, wondering to yourself at any particular moment, or do you feel do you feel like that's easier for y'all than it sounds like? It's it's like my biggest problem in the world, so like it's probably not as bad for you guys as it's for me, but like I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I do sometimes struggle with that a bit, but I am very much of the write everything all the time, everything you're thinking, because I have an incredible word output. And most of it is complete garbage. But I feel like if I get everything that's in my head out onto the page, it's out there, and then I can choose what I want. And I do not have but if I write all this down and it's wrong, then I have to get rid of it or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm going to write 80,000 words and I'm going to keep 30,000 of it. And the rest of it's going to go away.
Right.
And then it's out of my brain and it's not clogging up anything. And I know that I've chosen the best course of all the ideas that I had. I've written I think 5 at this point, full novels, and somebody else has read them. And all of them range between like the 95K and like the 150K, 150,000K. Sorry. Because I'm a fantasy writer mostly. And, but like my writers group has read probably like millions of words for me. I just write everything. Because if I were to sit back and be like, "Ooh, I don't know if this is gonna work," and if I write this and it doesn't work, I will get so bogged down in that, and I will never write anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I go straight to not writing anything if I start second guessing myself. So I just write it. Just
So
write
sounds
everything.
like the approach you take is to commit first, but not like to a deliberate path, at least within creative projects. You're just like, I'm going to commit I'm going to commit to everything. I'm going to do all of the ideas.
Everything.
Yep.
And then you do the evaluate and reapproach idea at the end. Or
Yes, because I'm a true pantser, like the most pantser you can possibly be. And it doesn't matter even if I have a pretty good idea, like a skeleton I will always have massive rewrites and edits and things after it's all written anyway. So it's like, whatever. If I get everything out, then I know that the best thing is out there somewhere.
Okay, interesting. So not how I write. Like the
so not how a lot of people write.
I mean, no, I know there's lots and lots of people who do like revision and revision. It's really a refinement process. I just tend to do all of my refining ahead of time, where like I spend weeks and weeks and weeks thinking about an idea or struggling with it, and then like a small secret, like almost every single Breathing Space episode is draft 1 for me. Like I kind of just write that shit. And
because it was already like worked through in your brain before you put it on the paper.
I tend not, I mean, like there's edits, but not like with few exceptions, once I get going on a script, they fall out of my head and they're just done. And I don't typically have to go in and do much tweaking.
Except for the ones that you have to rewrite like 8 times because you keep being like, wait, this is still not the story I'm trying to tell somehow.
Yeah, exactly. So like what happens with me is that like, it's the commit versus like I've committed to an approach, and then I get a couple thousand words in, and I just have to go back to the blank page and start over because I can't just like keep going if it's not right. I gotta go back and start. Like I gotta go back and like take it from step 1 again. Jack, how do you feel about this?
Man, I feel like it kind of depends on what it is that I'm writing because like writing for audio drama, I kind of find that I don't end up doing the like dump everything in my head onto the paper. I'm more like sort of craft it as I go along, and I think I do like think ahead about like where I'm going before I put things on the paper, and I kind of like block out very roughly like beats I know I want to hit, and then I have to go through and meet my buoys. I think me and Scott have talked about this before, of like using like little sort of story beat checkpoints that you're hopping from one to the next and trying to hit in order. And I think that approach prevents me from having to go off in a billion other directions and write all this other stuff that may not make it into the episode. Sometimes I cut things for mostly length reasons, but it's a lot of like knowing where my little buoys are and just going through and hitting them. And I've been lucky to not have to like go through and change my buoys that often writing for audio drama, which could certainly happen if I were like writing the episode and then me or someone else reading it realized, hey, this plot point doesn't make sense, or this thing isn't working. Like, then you would have to go back and, change or fix something. But I've been lucky in that I haven't really had to do a lot of that. It's just been like, here are my things I want to hit, and I just go through and hit them. But I feel like writing prose is different, because that I really do just like throw everything on the paper, and not even in chronological order. Like I will just have a big document, and I will, hit the enter key 3 times and just start a new section that doesn't connect to the section before it. I will like scroll way ahead to the bottom of the document and add things, and then go slot them in later. Like that for me is a way different process of just like dumping everything in my brain onto the paper. So I think I do it both.
Sounds like it.
Depending on the circumstances.
Yeah. So like, I think I'm coming, as we've been talking, I'm coming back to an idea that I think we've talked about previously, about like the 2 cycles where you've got creation versus editing, where it's like creation versus revision. And the problem is, this is probably an expression of that same problem where it's like when I'm thinking like, oh dude, should I be like stepping back and like reevaluating it? That's part of the editor brain, right? Like that's the brain going like, I am now evaluating these ideas rather than just like doing them,
producing them and slapping them onto the paper.
And it is, I mean like in the one sense, if your editor brain is like needling at you being like, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't seem right, then like, I mean like you got to listen to your own internal monologue, but like, and judge, trust your own judgment. But like, that also explains why it feels so hard to even commit to a path if like I know something's wrong with it, because like editor, my theory is that when you engage revisionist brain, editor brain, the one that's like evaluating the ideas, then like the creative side of it becomes just infinitely harder, because it's so hard to like generate new ideas if your brain is also being like, no, that sucks, let's shut it down, no, that's not gonna work. Like you, like when Sam's talking about just writing and writing and writing and writing and writing, and then having all of this stuff on the paper and being able to cull from that seems like the version where you're just like, okay, just go, let's just do everything, I don't care if it's good, I don't care if it works, I don't care if it's right, let's just do it. Let's make it.
Yeah, I don't even care if it's getting used or not. A lot of it won't be, but at least now you have this pile of pieces that you can assemble later.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. And so, Sam, I want to peer into your head a little bit here.
I know, I want to dissect you a little bit here. This is so interesting.
So, because you talk about like you just write and write and write to the point where like you said you're a pantser, right? Which it sounds like, like, I'm not even sure that that's what it sounds like. Pantser, it doesn't even sound the right. You almost like, I'm trying to think about like, because you're finding the story afterwards, really, right? In the edit, is that right?
In the edit,
kind of, yeah, kind of, because it's like I've always thought of it, and this is not a very good analogy, but like this is how it works in my head. When a not a person who works with clay, but a person who chips away at stone.
Sculptor.
Because I create the stone. Like I just make the stone, and then
you gotta make before you can.
And then I have to go back and I have to chip out what the story is like on the inside. And I always get bogged down if I think too much before I do something. And I always have an idea of where I want the story to go. Obviously, like here's my idea and my basic structure for like the world, and here's the inciting incident, and then here's like a couple scenes that I think would be really cool, and I'm going to stick to those, like the buoys. But like, there's only like two, and it's a vast ocean. So just as long as we get to those buoys at some point, it's fine. What I think is going to be really interesting for me to learn about myself as a writer, I have at this point written exactly one podcast episode that has come to fruition. Only ever one, and it was very short, and it was very silly.
I got to be in it, and it was a delight.
Very seriously. Yes, Jack was in it. It was very fun, and it was quite easy actually, because I wasn't taking it very seriously, and not in a bad way.
In a irreverent way, positive.
It was a comedy episode.
I really think that not taking it seriously is actually super important to like doing it like that I definitely am very much feeling lately the like taking it seriously being a hampering. Like the fact that I care about this a lot is like putting a bunch of pressure on me. So like I didn't want to pass that by without comment. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I've learned to do when I'm writing like long form is I just can't care about this stuff right now. But what's going to be very interesting is when I actually start to for real write the As in West episodes, because I'm going to have to retrain my brain to write almost, it's not technically short form because it's a overarching story through the whole thing, but I'm going to have to like write an episode episodically. And I don't get to go I don't get to go thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of words for every single, like, I guess story beat would be or episode, whatever. And so I'm going to have to take my novel brain, and really all I've ever done is really, really, really long fan fiction, extremely long fan fiction, or
Yeah.
novels, and then this one podcast episode, and then like one short story. So I'm really gonna have to retrain my brain, because it's really not going to be conducive to my mental health if I'm just writing forever for each episode.
Do you feel
Well,
like,
and then also it won't be released until like 2029 or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll be like 80
like,
years old.
do you feel like there's so to you it feels like you'd have to write 1 million words to get, previously you're I'm trying to formulate my thoughts. Previously you're like, okay, I'm gonna write 1 million words, I'm gonna pare that down to 150,000, right? It seems to me like you should be able to do something like, okay, I'm gonna write 50,000 words to trim it to 5,000. I mean, does that or are you worried that you're still going to have to do the million?
The million words has to be there.
It'll definitely scale, because I know in the back of my mind how much of a story is going to fit into each episode. So at least there's that. Like, I'm going to need this many words for the, and again, I cannot think of episodes in word count. I do not understand how people do that. That is insane to me. So basically, every episode for me in my brain is story beats. And so it's going to be this beat, this beat, this beat, this beat. And that's the end. And if it takes 50 to 60, 70,000 words to write each of those, it's not the end of the world. I write very, very fast. So, and again, if I just get all the garbage out of my head, I'll grab that 2, 3, 5,000 words that are good. And I'll be like, yes, okay, now this is what I'm going to work with. And then I will start the editing.
Well, so this is interesting. When you're writing a novel that's not divided up into whatever, 12 podcast episodes, you can kind of do the like, I have 2 buoys and there's also this whole ocean here approach. But like, because each of these episodes of this podcast are one single episode, and we know we're going to have like a number of beats to hit within each episode, you automatically have 12 times as many buoys as you normally would, I feel like. So that should help guide the path a bit more than just having to dump the entire ocean onto the paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you're not discovering the buoys.
It's definitely going to help. Yeah, it's definitely going to help. And with specifically this podcasting thing, having extremely like structure, like we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to do this, has been actually quite helpful, because again, when I do a novel, I have like 2 or 3 beats and I, sort of work around them, blah, blah, blah. But if I have like 10, if I have 10 beats that I have to work around, it's going to narrow down so much of like what I want to do anyway. And so my brain isn't going to be like, oh, but we could do this. Oh, but we could do this every 5 seconds. It's going to be like, so we're going to do this. And then we got to get to this next one pretty quick. Oh, and then we got to do this. And I'll have way more focused, direction. So I don't think that I'm actually going to be writing that much more. But, I haven't really started yet.
Yeah. I'm definitely not trying to, because like, we don't know how the writing for As and West is going to go until you guys do it. So we can't make that many predictions. I'm curious, when you are in the just write and write mode, do you, God, this is just a stupid question. How do you keep editor brain out of it? Does that just happen for you, or is there something, do you have any?
A lot of people have asked me this, and if you ask any pantser or anybody that just does the free writing like I do, that it just isn't there. Like, the editor brain does not exist.
Out of the room, absent, not. I do not see it. I look away.
So it feels natural to you to just go.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Not
Maybe
helpful,
if we
but
clonked
interesting.
Scott on the head with a cartoon hammer, and we're like, editor brain, shut the fuck up. Just let him cook.
Yeah. No. Like I for context, I stopped drinking in 2019, and
Congrats.
I do not miss that at all, except one drink in is a great place to write for me. It used to be a great place to write for me. So like, because it it occupies that one part of my brain enough that I was able to do the generation easier. Which is, I mean, that's just that being said, I am quite certain that that's not the kind of thing you need to rely on. There are other ways to get your brain to that space. I just haven't figured it out at the moment. I'm still looking for ways to just be like, let's go. The thing I keep telling myself, this one of the tricks that I use continuously is trying intentionally to write the worst version of something. Which like is
write it bad first.
Yeah, but like the thing is that when you tell yourself, what's the worst possible version of this line? What's the worst possible version? Because you take all of the pressure off, you end up doing things that you then find are good. Like you just like can't help, or at least I can't. Like even when I am trying hard not to do the right version of it, that ends up creating good ideas and good lines, and like
because you've loosened yourself.
Yeah, because you're loosened. But it's a trick, and it's like it's helpful. But like there's got to be other ways to do that, and a way to like I want to if I could tap into the Zen brain of the Pantser and be like, okay, let's just turn on the flow, let's go. I would love. I'm looking for places to do that. Obviously,
have I talked about zero draft on here yet?
I think we've mentioned it a few times, but if you want to go into more into depth, I'm happy to hear.
Just briefly go into it. Okay, so at least when I write for audio drama, I do a thing called a zero draft, which basically means the ugliest version that you don't intend anyone else to see.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like slap it down on the paper, like just hit those beats. Don't worry about making it sound good. Don't worry about like character voices being like true to the character. Just like whack it all down and you'll fix it later.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell myself that that's what I'm doing, but then by the end, I make just the barest tweaks, and it's good to show to somebody. Like, it's always a better draft than I sort of intended it to be. But because I told myself, no one's gonna see this, it doesn't matter if it doesn't like all match up. It does free your brain a little bit to like do its work without grinding against itself in the way that's like, oh my god, someone's gonna see this, so it has to be right. Like, no, it doesn't. Just whack it down.
And in true therapy mode, part of the thing that's killing me is that there are things in here that I feel like I want to say. I hate this. Like there's points of view ideas that like, because it feels so pretentious. Be like, I have a point of view, but I do. And we've lost Sam again, and we didn't even notice.
Oh my god, Sam, no.
Oh no.
Okay, but yeah, the auteur brain.
Yeah, well, like the this is important brain, right? Like it's the thing where you're like starting to say like
sometimes a podcast is 3 different Riverside recordings stitched together.
Sam's gonna bow out, so we're gonna go from here and we'll close out.
Okay.
The part of my brain that sucks. Not sucks, but the part of my brain that's such a but like there's a part of my brain that's like that feels the incompatibility between trying to be serious and say serious things and like the ability to just like be stupid and like do the fun genre stuff.
Play and have fun.
Yeah, to play and have fun. But like creation is play. Like writing is a playful thing that you have to be like messing around with and having fun, and you'll discover the important things in there. And I think, but like, so it's like these two parts, and I find myself in the conflict in the middle at the moment, which is that it's one of the reasons that things have been going slowly, I guess, is because I keep wanting this to be good. And that sucks. You can't will something into being good. You have to just do it, and then it may turn out to be good.
I think it will turn out good. And like, I think that because you have like, even if you don't even know what the specific things are that you want to say yet, but you want to say, like, make meaningful, salient points about, society or gender or whatever in this thing that you're making, it's giving you that pressure of like, oh my God, well, I can't just write it bad because then it's bad, and I want it to like say things that make sense and be good.
Because I want people to listen to me, but I don't. But that means it needs to be worth listening to, which is
And
not.
that probably is hanging you up at this point, because what would be really helpful is if you could be like, it's fine if it sucks and doesn't make any salient points, and I'm just gonna like schlock around and have a good time with these horny werewolves.
Yeah.
And then something good will probably spring forth out of that, you know?
Yeah. I need to. Yeah. How do I convince how do you convince yourself to be free and playful and not care? God, like this is, I need to go back to studying Buddhism, because like the attachment leads to suffering is like the fucking watchword of my goddamn life. And it's the thing that so many people get hung up on. And I am missing, like, there are ways in which I have been able to internalize some of those lessons, and this is one of the ways in which I have just never been able to. Like, I can't not take myself seriously sometimes.
I think, okay, so do you remember, like, kind of early on in this process for you, you were like, I need to go write some stupid coffee shop AU or something. Like, I need to just play around more with these characters. I think, like, at the time, it was for the reason of getting to know the characters better.
Yeah.
But at this point in the process, it might be worth revisiting that exercise as more of a, let's just loosen up a little bit and generate some stuff that's definitely not going into the episodes, but that's going to, like, sort of, it's like shaking your wrists out before you draw, like, just, loosening yourself a little.
And it's possible that I certainly was not able to do it unseriously last time.
Well, it got serious, right? Like,
exactly.
I'm just doing some porn, and then it got,
and then it like turned into a whole thing. And I just need to like, but like, tapping in. There's a whole concept called let's talk about flow state in the future, because this is what we're aiming at. But I gotta go back to work, because this is my lunch break, and we're already going. So, all right, Jack, do you want to set a goal for the next 2 weeks?
I'll talk to Sam about it, but okay. I suspect my goal is wait for a story skeleton for the first 2 episodes to land in my lap, so that I can like help Sam, set our buoys basically.
Yes.
Before 2 weeks from now.
Okay, I am deliberately not setting myself a goal, because
good for you. Chill and relax.
Well, no, I'm not gonna chill. I'm constitutionally incapable of chilling and relaxing at the moment.
Scott's like, I will not. You can't make me.
I just don't know in what direction I'm going, so I can't aim at a target, and that should be okay. But I am definitely not chilling.
I will not be chill, but I will not set goals.
No, I'm gonna be vibrating furiously in a single location, and then 2 weeks will pass, and I will still be here, but like, I will have worn a hole in my chair.
Okay. Well, we'll note the shape of the hole in your chair next week.
We'll see what has happened. All right. In that case, we will see the audience in 2 weeks, and bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you for joining us for Behind the Locked Doors, a library of cursed knowledge production podcast thing. I don't know. If you are interested in any of these projects, you can head over to library.horse, which will eventually redirect to a webpage once I make it, If you want to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/cursed knowledge. See y'all next week. No, wait. See y'all in 2 weeks.